You probably haven't seen this side to Denzel Washington before. When it comes to dirty waters of politics, he prefers to step aside and champion more centrist ideals like we do at the channel. But when a reporter, Nicholas Bolisi, tried to pin him down as being on one side of the political aisle or the other over a fake tabloid news story, we just saw the most assertive strike down of that attempt by Denzel, so let's get into it.
Just wondering who you wound up supporting in the election and why.
Go ahead now. Fences.
How about this? I don't know if you saw it. There's a fake news story going around. It got thousands of shares online. You saw that. And I just thought you might want to clear it up because people are confused.
There's a few words that start with F and end with K. What was the question?
Well, that was a question. Who you wound up supporting in the election, presidential election?
None of your business.
It's easy to look past that smile and understand Denzel's frustration over the question. And in case you missed it, there was a false news story around the time of the 2016 election that Denzel Washington had taken this centrist hat off and went after the Democratic Party to support Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. Now, normally it wouldn't be that big of a problem because people in public light have to face this kind of stuff all the time, but for some reason the post had attracted more than 22,000 shares and just refused to die down. It contained fake supposed quotes by Denzel chastising the Democrats that honestly did great injustice to how articulate and well-spoken the man actually is. But looking back at it, I think it was an interesting case study in relatively early days of mass social media on how easy it is for fake news to gain traction, and all you need to do is look at Denzel's passive-aggressive takedown of the reporter's implicit assumptions in the question to see how fed up he was at being at the center of one.
I want to just ask you, though, about the issue of race relations, because the film touches upon that. Right now, under President Obama, over the last 8 years, in your mind, have race relations improved under his leadership?
Race relationships have to do with race relationships. You're white or whatever you are, I'm black or whatever I am. We're standing here talking now. That's how we get things done. You can't legislate love. The President of the United States can't legislate us into liking each other. We have to step forward and ask questions about each other and engage. There's no law that says, oh, because I'm president, you all got to get along now. So it's up to us.
That is such a beautiful line that has stuck with me ever since, quote, you can't legislate love. But if you look closer, I think it also captures another critical idea. It's not one president that matters, and not even the fact that he's from a particular race. What truly makes an impact is the millions of one-on-one relations that we form every single day as humans. But apparently for this reporter, that thoughtful response only helped him transition to an arguably more divisive subject in an attempt to get another story out of him, and that is on the Black Lives Matter movement. Watch this and you'll realize how Denzel Washington saw straight through it.
There's been so many protests in America, especially during the election. Black Lives Matter movement, for example, and those issues. Has that movement in particular, the Black Lives Matter movement, helped race relations or not in America?
Well, listen, we live in America, and in America we have the freedom to express ourselves. We shouldn't take that for granted. So whatever the movements are, whether you agree with them or don't, they have the right to express themselves. So that's one of the great things about being in this country.
Spoken like a true moderate, and most importantly, left this reporter without much spice in his news stories about Denzel Washington. The BLM protests back in 2016 did not get as publicly violent as what happened in 2020 after George Floyd, but I cannot help but feel like this question had almost become a litmus test to see which side of the political spectrum someone falls in. It's almost like you need to pick a side and make it clear, and you can see why that question from the reporter would follow given Denzel Washington's centrist and moderate credentials. Once again, Nicholas left frustratingly empty-handed after Denzel's carefully worded responses. But being at the center of a fake news storm made Denzel Washington an important voice on the issue of the modern information overload with the rise of social media. Check this out.
What is the long-term effect of too much information? The polarization of the electorate? A meaner spiritness?
False information as well, because the whole fake news thing.
Pick one. It's not just one. That's the flavor of the day. Every day is something else. People have to understand Are you using your device or is your device using you? Can you put it down? Can you turn it off?
That's a question that anyone familiar with the world that George Orwell painted for us will understand. In that world, you didn't watch television, the television watched you. Take that idea in the modern world and you start to see how our handheld personal devices can be used to surveil and control us and the way we think. That's the danger that faces much of the modern population unless they decide to unplug or filter every piece of information they consume. Do you know the easiest way to control and disorient people into inaction? Confuse them out of their minds. And I think that in the world of today, where old systems of understanding the world like legacy journalism fall by the wayside, it's going to be upon us as individuals to separate the wheat from the chaff on the internet. Unfortunately, that is something that not many people can do. Here's an example of Denzel Washington driving this point home for the media right into their faces.
There's been a lot of buzz about this fake news. You were the subject of a fake news story.
Oh yeah, what'd they say? I was running for president. No, I voted.
You were running for
No, what'd they say?
You switched your support.
I switched.
From
yeah.
What do you make of all the fake news and it affects
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore.
That was a jibe at modern news media that has perhaps become more desperate to be the first rather than be true in their attempts to hold on to any relevance in this new digital media landscape. When that happens, you can predict what's going to happen. You've got news channels and journalists tempted to become more and more like tabloids, trying to mimic the numbers the digital media is getting. And in that pursuit, it ends up doing more harm than good apart from failing to do the job it was meant to do. This interaction with Denzel Washington is perhaps one example of someone that at least pushed back against this trend.